welcome to MindGrowRadio. I'm your host, Stephanie Casson, and today we're joined by professional chef, plant-based culinary nutritionalist, and mindful eating coach, Ebeth Johnson, to talk about mindset, mentors, and money. Ebeth is also going to share some mindful eating tips from her own personal growth toolbox, so be sure to stay tuned for that. Before we get started, I want to tell you a little bit about today's guest. Ebeth is a mindful eating coach and well-life mentor. She shares tips, tools, resources, and simple recipes with women who are ready to live deliciously, marrying her love of food, cooking, wellness, and mindfulness while supporting women and their families to incorporate nourishing food and nurturing lifestyle practices into daily life. It's an honor to have her here with us, and please help me give a warm welcome to Ebeth Johnson. Welcome,
Hello.
Ebeth.
Thank you so much. I am so honored to be here, and I'm just really looking forward to having this amazing conversation with you. Thanks for having me.
Oh, it's such an honor. I absolutely love what you're up to. So let me tell the listeners a little bit about how Ebeth came into my awareness, first of all, and her energy was just so amazing. It was like magnetic, and she was sharing all of these amazing food processes, and she was helping moms. She was labeled as branded as the breastfeeding chef, and she was teaching moms all of this amazing stuff. And I was like, oh my God, I've got to get to know her. And then we ended up masterminding together, and this relationship has just flourished since then. So to have you here with me on the show, Ebeth, it's really an honor and a privilege, and I'm so excited to rock out some ripples of awareness with you.
Thank you.
You're
Thank you
fab.
Thank you. Coming from you, that is so great. Thank you so much.
So I want to just dive into this conversation and talk about the mindset that you needed to create. So let's look back a little bit. When even a decade ago, did you imagine that your life was going to look like it does today?
No, definitely not. Gosh, 10 years ago, I was a completely different person. I think I was definitely on a path towards living a more mindful life, and specifically stepping into an awareness that I am good enough really was, I think the transformation that's happened for me over the last 10 years was just getting enough life lessons and support and mentorship really from lots of different places and people and books to find that I'm worth it, I'm good enough, I'm enough, and I can do whatever I want to do in the world. And then from that space to allow myself to imagine, well, what is that? You know, if I can do anything, what will I do? So I've spent the last 10 years really figuring that out, and I think at this moment I have the most clarity about who I am and what I want to do in the world and what my life is about.
I love the way that you create, because you create awareness, you create recipes, you create processes for people to go through, you create a lifestyle that is just so, I want to say, a feel-good lifestyle, because you make us feel good, like from the inside out, with the stuff that you teach. And when you decided that you were going to take the entrepreneurial leap, that you were going to go into business for yourself, what had to happen with your mindset from you to get to that place that you were 10 years ago to where you are now?
Oh, I think, let's see, for me to really step into entrepreneurship, I had to realize that even when I was afraid, I could still do things. I had to learn to not let fear prevent me from doing anything, to sort of allow the fear to come, to process it. And you and I did some work on this together, and to see my fear differently and to be able to work past that. I mean, that was the biggest thing for me, because I was afraid of like everything having to do with entrepreneurship. Would I make enough money? Would people buy my service? Would they think what I was doing was relevant? And I just had so many fears. I had to get past that and realize that, if I really want to be out in the world helping people eat well and realize that food is this delicious, amazing, beautiful fuel for everything we want to do in our lives, then I can't just be sitting in a corner office somewhere at some job. I need to get out and create my own business and life. So that's really the biggest step for me, was getting past the fear.
That is so beautiful, because that's something that we all face. Like, we all have this fear of who is going to listen to us, and are we good enough, and who are we to be sharing this information? And the way that you've decided to show up in the world is just beautiful. So when you were creating that mindset for yourself, were there some certain steps that you took, or was there a practice? Like, what is something that the listeners could do today that could help them take that first step in creating that mindset?
I think the first, because I don't feel like there's a specific practice that I did in those early days, but I think what has been most helpful for me is creating a community of like-minded people who also are interested in stepping up, stepping into the light, bringing volume to their voice, and to find people who support you in that and who aren't necessarily in the same place where you are, who can give you some perspective about where you can be, and to find those mentors who are doing something like what you're doing, but maybe they're in a different place in their path, and they can guide you and be a light at the end of the tunnel for whatever your vision is. That has really been key for me, is finding people who see something in me that I didn't see in myself, who can be an example for me and who I want to be, and who can teach me. And we're willing to be patient with that process, because, it doesn't happen overnight, and it takes time. So I think that community of people is so, so important.
I love that. So what I'm hearing is that at some point you made a decision within yourself that you were going to start looking for people, like-minded people, to surround yourself with. And that's going to bring us right into the next piece, which is the mentorship part. So how you just started talking about it a little bit, but let's go a little bit deeper. So how has mentoring, whether you were mentoring or receiving mentorship, how has that played a part in the life that you're living right now?
It has been amazing. When I think about any key points in my life where I made a major transition of what I was doing in the world or how I saw myself, it was almost always from mentorship from someone who cared about me. I mean, going back to when I first started changing my relationship with food, it was my godmother who essentially mentored me. I don't think she would have called herself a mentor, but she showed me a different way to eat, a different way to shop, a different way to feel about food, a different way to move my body, both for physical exercise, but also just through the world with confidence. And so she was the first person, I think, who mentored me and helped me say, okay, I don't want to have my pediatrician's forecast for me to come true, which was, if you keep gaining weight in the way that you are, if you keep eating the way that you are, you're going to be obese and you're likely going to die early. And I was like, what? And so, she really mentored me through a transition from that place to a place where I could eat healthy food and know how to cook and know how to shop and know how to move my body. So that was the first place where I had some amazing mentorship. And then more recently, in the last 10 years or so, I would say I have been blessed to have other entrepreneurs who were trailblazers in their own right to take me under their wing and show me show me the way, and also allow me to create my own path. They had enough wisdom to share their knowledge, but also to allow me to be me and to do it my own way. So it has just been crucial for me to have teachers and mentors, and I mean you, Stephanie. I mean, I really consider you a mentor as well, because watching you shine your own light in the world and make transitions and guide me through my own fears and help me think differently about messages from the universe and how I just live and breathe and feel and flow through life has been amazing. So you can find mentors anywhere. I think they show up when you ask and are open to receive. Because I don't think I ever officially said, okay, I need to find some mentors. It was more like, I'm tired of this life. I want to live differently. Show me, and then people, books, movies, experiences just started coming my way. And I was open and ready to receive.
That is so beautiful. And thank you for those kind words. I'm like all teary right now. I'm glad the listeners can't see me because my eyes are wet and I have a lump in my throat.
Oh, but Stephanie, it's so true. I mean, the session that we did on fear, I mean, I have worked on fear my whole life. I think it just comes from, just my childhood experience, having a dad who had left and just always being afraid of people leaving or things not happening the way I thought they might. And so, throughout my life I've worked on fear, but the session with you really gave me some new language and perspective around that, so that first, I'm less fearful overall since having worked with you. And secondly, when I do become fearful, I have tools to work through that in a different way that allows me to get over it faster, move through it, and keep it moving.
I love that. So when you're mentoring other women, some of the women that you've taken under your wing and guided toward a better path and a life of wellness, what is some of the response that you've gotten? Like, I know when we receive feedback like what you just gave me is amazing. So when you got your first bit of feedback from the women that you started helping as you went out on this entrepreneurial journey, what did that feel like for you?
It felt amazing. It was surprising. It was amazing. It was humbling to see yourself through someone else's eyes, to recognize that, for me, most of the mentorship I do with women is about, of course it's about food and wellness, but it's also about reflecting back that person's greatness. Because oftentimes women I work with, I think one of the things that they need most of all is for someone to just say, it's okay. What you're thinking is okay. What you're doing is okay. You are okay. You are enough. You have what you need. And for me to just celebrate that and then help them make changes, small changes in their life, and to see things that maybe they just didn't see. And for them to then say, that made me feel so confident. That made me feel loved. That made me feel like I could do this, whether it was breastfeed or change my eating habits or talk to my husband about whatever it was, it just humbled me to think that I could support someone else in that way. It's just amazing. It's amazing work. I feel grateful and I feel surprised sometimes by the things that people say, that, your work, your presence, your words, your support, your direction, guidance, does for them. It's humbling, I think, more than anything.
And in addition to that, like, how has mentoring others elevated you, other than making you feel good and amazing? What other things has it done for you, like for your business and for your own personal life and all of the aspects of you? Receiving mentorship does something for us. It brings us to a next level of knowledge and awareness. But something else happens when we mentor others. So what kind of stuff did you start to notice as you started mentoring other people?
I think mentoring other people does two things for me. One is help me to reflect back on my own journey and how far I've come and where I am now. Because I think so often we're so focused on the journey that we're on that we forget to remember where we once were and how far we've come. And I find that mentoring others allows me to see myself as I am now. Like, oh, wow, you know, I practice this now. I have this resource that I can share with others. And that's amazing. And it also, on the flip side, shows me how much more I have to learn as well. I feel like mentoring others, I learn that my own journey is still ongoing, you know, that I still have internal work to do, not only for myself, but also so I can be of better service to those that I work with. So it's interesting. It both shows me where I've come and how much I've grown, and it also shows me how far I have to go at the same time.
Oh, I love that. That's a beautiful perspective. I love that reflective perspective. Hey, that is something. Reflective perspective.
The perspective, that's like a hashtag now waiting to happen.
That's very cool.
Okay.
So let's talk about the money piece a little bit, because we talked about fear, and one of the fears that we have as entrepreneurs or anybody in business or anybody who's even starting anything new and just beginning to step into their own greatness and shine in their own brilliance, no matter what you're doing, there's a fear, and we all want to make money from our gifts.
Mm-hmm.
So how would you say that mindset and mentoring played a part in the money piece when it came to your business?
Oh, that was huge. I mean, I have spent so much of my life undervaluing myself, my work, and also just having fear that anyone would pay for what I do. And if they did pay, that it would probably be, you know, not enough to live. So first of all, shifting my mindset to recognizing that I bring value to the world, and that you know, the universe doesn't want any of us to live in a space of lack. You know, we receive these gifts and these talents and these paths, I think, from the universe. And, you know, once we tune into that, I think I have now learned that it's crazy for me to assume that I would have this path and have these gifts and not be able to live in abundance. I mean, that would be insane. So once I realized that, you know, walking my path and doing what I'm here to do is in alignment with me also having an abundant life, that was just mind-growing, as you like to say, for me. So first I had to say, yes, I am valuable. What I do is worthy of exchange, of monetary exchange. And I just had to remember, you know, that of course the universe wants me to be abundant in all ways, not just money, but since we're talking about money, also money, pay my bills, be able to do what I need to do, be able to give back. And I think that that's just the natural way. I think, unfortunately, we don't get that education. And I know for myself, I had all kinds of negative mindsets around money and wealth and wealthy people, and that really prevented me from attracting the abundance because I had negative feelings about money. I didn't just see it as an exchange of value. It was like this dirty thing, you know. So I had to change the way I thought about that. Mm-hmm.
And I love what you said about you had to accept. Well, I forget the exact words that you said just a second ago, but accept that you were worthy of this exchange. You had to come to a point that you accepted that you are worth this, and so many of us struggle with that.
Oh, yes.
Do you have some tips that you could share, or a tip that you could share of how you got yourself into that state of acceptance? Because I know that's something that a lot of us struggle with, that I'm not good enough lie. that runs through our head that feels like on an endless loop. And anything that you could share to help somebody reset that or change that or take a step towards something new on that would be awesome.
I think the thing that really helped me is to reflect on how I felt when I paid someone for a service that I found valuable. And for me to tune into, okay, this person did whatever it was that helped me, that moved me, that grew me in some way. And I really wanted to pay that person to show gratitude and thanks. And since money is the currency, one of the ways in which we do that, I really wanted to pay them a fair value for what they did for me. And when I realized that I had that desire, that it would be okay for me to receive that from someone else, for me to say, yes, this person has received value from my work, and they probably want to give me something for that, and in this case, money. So when I thought about it from that place, and how frustrating it is, when you really want to give somebody something and they're like, no, it's okay. No, you don't have to. And I'm like, no, I really want to, because I value this so much. I really want to give you X amount of money or dinner or whatever it is. So to realize I didn't want to stop that cycle. I wanted to allow people to be able to give and receive in ways that felt good to them. And that I also wanted to have that sense that I held space for my worth, because it doesn't feel good either to do a lot of work and then to feel like, man, I put in so much effort and I really don't feel as though I was given the same value in return. So those two things together, me wanting to feel as though I held space for my own value, and two, that I wanted to allow others the space to give in accord with what they received. Did that make sense?
Oh, that is so beautiful. And a simple approach, just that simple acceptance makes such a huge difference. So thank you for sharing that. Really appreciate that, listeners. Tune into what she's saying here, because it's full of gems. She's giving you lots of little gems here that you can put into practice right now just by shifting your perspective a little bit. So, Ebeth, what tips do you have for us in addition to that? We've got about 8 minutes left. The time always flies so fast when I'm talking to you, it feels like.
Because it's so awesome.
So do you have some tips from your own personal growth toolbox that you would like to share? And then I want to let the listeners know how they can learn more about you and get into your group. So we're going to talk about that in a second, but please share some tips with us.
So do you mean tips about food or
you can share anything that
money?
You want. You could share mindful eating tips. You can share just some of who you are with the listeners so that they can get a taste of what's waiting for them over in the Live Deliciously group.
Well, I would say I think one of the biggest tips or shifts in mindset that I try to encourage with my clients and in my group is, healthy eating, I think, has this stigma attached to it. People think, healthy eating is boring, it's bland, it's too hard, it's too expensive, it's all about deprivation. And I think the biggest shift, one of the biggest shifts that people can make when thinking about healthy eating is to forget about this idea of deprivation. I am not about depriving anyone of anything. And in fact, I think the only time that we really deprive our mind, our body, and our spirit of anything is when we're not feeding ourselves well, when we're not acknowledging the incredible, delicious power of food to nourish and nurture and fuel, the life that we love. And so I want that to be delicious and beautiful. I often have in my mind's eye that perfect summer peach, it's not too firm, it's not too soft, it's juicy and sweet, I want people to learn how to feed themselves so that their life feels as delicious as that bite of perfect summer peach. And it has nothing to do with deprivation and nothing to do with guilt and everything to do with eating beautiful, delicious food that, you know, everybody loves, you, your friends, your family, and from a space of, I am worth it, I deserve it, I want to live a great life, and I understand that that means I want to feed myself well so that my body has the energy and nutrients it needs, so that I feel satiated and satisfied, and so that I enjoy all the parts of my life. And food, I think, is just a huge part of that.
Yeah, my best friend Janie, one of her sayings all the time is, food is love. Food is love. And
Absolutely.
I believe that wholeheartedly.
I believe that
love.
too. Yeah, and you can feel it. You know, you can feel the difference when someone makes something with love and positive intention versus when they don't. I mean, the food just doesn't taste as good. That happens to me. You know, sometimes if I'm had a stressful day and maybe I haven't shifted my mindset or energy before I cook, and I make a meal I've made a million times fabulously, and this one time I'm like, why does it taste not right? And I realized I did not shift my energy, you know, before I made this food. You know, I didn't put the same love and passion and positivity that I normally do because I wasn't in the right space. But when you make food from that space, it is absolutely pure joy and love that someone else gets to put inside their body and take on that energy. I mean, not to mention it tastes great, you know.
Yeah, and it really does. Like, seriously, you can taste it. It's like a secret ingredient that everybody goes, oh, my God, this is so good. And it's because it was made with love.
Made with love.
So
People
true.
always laugh because I put love as one of my ingredients on my recipes, and they're like, love? And I'm like, oh, yeah. You got to put love, baby.
Oh, I love that so much. So, everybody, Ebeth Johnson is just amazing, as you've heard today with the stuff that she shared on the show. And if you would like the opportunity to connect with her, please go check out her group on Facebook, Live Deliciously, where she offers mindset mastery, well life practices, and rockin' recipes that you can start using right away to make your food taste better and make your life feel better. Ebeth, it's been such an honor to be with you today, and we just have a couple of minutes left. So in that time, do you have any last words for the listeners?
I hope to see you over in the Facebook group, Live Deliciously. It is going to be a fun and fabulous place to learn more about food, to celebrate your successes, to share recipes, to start thinking differently about food and its place at your table and in your life. And it's just going to be fun and delicious, and I would love to see you there.
Excellent. Thank you, Ebeth. Everybody, thank you for joining us today on another episode of MindGrowRadio. I'm your host, Stephanie Cathan. And until we meet again, keep shining in your brilliance, and be sure to go and head on over to Ebeth's group, Live Deliciously. Connect with her on Facebook. Tune into her wisdom, and really just start allowing yourself to feel good from the inside out. We will see you on the other side. Bye-bye, everyone.
Bye.